We're standing next to a replica of the Half Moon, the very ship that sailed up this river 400 years ago with Henry Hudson and his crew. We're going to be speaking with the captain of the replica, Chip Reynolds. Let's see what he has inside. Give us an outlay real quick about the dimensions of the ship. How big is it from front to back? How wide is it? How tall are the masts?
Well, you're looking at a vessel that's just over 100 tons in modern terms. And the extreme length from the sprit to the transom is about 100 feet. The mast height goes up to about 87 feet. The hull length itself is right around 85, and the keel length is something more like 65 feet. The breadth of the ship is about 18 feet. So it's it's a very commodious vessel, but as you look around it, you begin to see that the greatest volume is in the hold, that is the lowest level below the ship. Well, it makes sense. This is a commercial vessel. Its job is trade. So they need that hold space to carry the commodities that they're trading for. On Hudson's voyage, it was not so much trade, although they did engage in some minor trade just to see whether the opportunity for trade existed here. But in addition to the commodities that they're bringing back, the spices and such like that, they also needed to have capacity for all their spare gear, fuel, the beer, the water, the meat, and the fish that they were carrying, as well as spare wood, ship's boat that might have been prefabricated and the pieces assembled down below deck. Everything had to be backed up on here.
The Half Moon had no blueprints. How is it possible that we're able to recreate a ship 400 years after the fact with no blueprints?
Well, in the 17th century, shipwrights did not build to blueprints. They built to rule of thumb. So they would establish the cargo carrying capacity of the vessel, and from that all the other measures were very standard, and they were proportional to both the tonnage and then the keel length of the vessel. So we have the original contract of the vessel that specifies its tonnage in a Dutch measure called lasts, and from that we can then project out what the rest of the size of the vessel would have been. Furthermore, there's extensive documentation about this particular style of vessel, the Dutch yacht. These vessels were well documented in artwork of the time and also in the narrative record that gives us the items that were aboard the ship, the navigational instruments used, the accommodations that were found on here. So the entire rig that you see here, the shape of the ship, the designs that are found on the vessel, the coloration that is used is all documentable through the artwork of that time period. We know very clearly that in this first decade of the 1600s, shipbuilding was exploding because of the profits that were to be made out of this particular enterprise. There was a tremendous incentive for the East India Company to find more efficient routes, that is, those who were less vulnerable to piracy, the extremes of weather, to the depredation on the crew from nutritional diseases found when they were underway. And thus, Henry Hudson comes into play here as someone who is exploring these alternate routes and looking for a way to get that more efficient route to the Indies for the East India Company.